Okay, hi. Okay, so let's talk about how the automation run or how it is set up, so that you don't, so that it might help you. Okay, so if you, okay, so earlier we discussed about like after the API, the Flask API, like this endpoint checks for everything, right? It checks if the account is good to go, then it will send the request to this function called start betting, and this function it is responsible like to know what type of website it is and then run the automation for that website. So let's go ahead and check the function, and then from that we'll start checking each of the automation script and then discuss about them. So the function is inside like libs and then automation helper. So as you can see, like we have all the automation scripts, right? We import all the automation script for all the websites here, and then this is used by the function. So currently, okay, let's see what input it receives. So the first one is the thread name. So you want to use the thread name because whenever at the end, whenever we start the automation for that website, for the account, like for the whatever username it is, we also want to run it by the thread so that later we can also see if it's still running or not. So the Flask endpoint can know, like it checks that if the thread name is still available, then if it is still thread name is still available, then it will say like it's not running. So thread name is for that. So username is the username like it receives from the endpoint input. So website type is the ID. Tool name, this is like whether it's private tool or bookie bashing tool. So bet account object, this contains like all the details for that particular account. So yeah, okay, so it contains all the details about bit account object. So the space, okay, so this space thing, you'll notice this throughout the project. So this is only used for logging purpose. So what we do is, for example, everywhere when we print something to the terminal or when we save the log, we also use this thing called page. So page, this is how it's used. So let's say we are doing bit for an account with username called Amit, right? So there is an account with username called Amit, and it belongs to Bet365 website. Then in that case, the page would be like Bet365 dash Amit. So like if it's for Coral website, then it would be Coral dash Amit. So that like let's say when we are checking the log, we can simply like filter by the username. So if we filter by the username, so that we can only get the logs for that particular username, or let's say we want to filter by username and then the website, so the logs will only have those. So it makes it pretty easier to like to follow the logs, or so that's very useful in checking the logs. So how it works is, let's just see it. I think it's inside utils. Okay, so inside utils, so there is this function called printer, right? So everywhere we will see this function, like instead of print we use printer. So what happens is, for example, the page in this case is something like start automation starter or something. So whatever we want to print, we can do that. So what the printer function does is it simply checks the current time, right? And then it prints the information, and then also it saves the information inside inside a folder called temp data. So the folder should be present in scripting, right, inside here. So inside here we want a folder called temp underscore data, and then every day, so it will create a new txt file and then save all the logs of that day in that txt file. Oh, yeah, that's it. And then, okay, so also there is another script which will always delete the logs after 24 hours. So the job of the printer function is just to print the data, right, with time. So whatever message it receives, it prints it along with the time, and then that's pretty much it. So in case if the file does not exist, it will create a file, and then it will always like print the information and then add time and then print the message. So that's pretty much it about the printer. Okay, so back to what so yeah, this is not the current one we're going to see now. Automation helper, yeah. Okay, so the start betting one, right? So what we get these input, right, and then we get like bet website object. So this is the object variable for the details of the bet website, right? It contains like website name, website ID, and those things. So like we get the bet website object, and then we know, okay, if this is bet365 or Coral. And also, if you remember earlier, we discussed about how we are using description to get, for example, we are using description to set up a proxy. And then if you want, you can also expand it to like to for Oliver to add other details, for example, for other settings. from description. For that, so this function called strip description website. It gets the text, it uses the text input from the description, and then it creates a dictionary so that we can check, like you can use the settings. So okay, yeah, so this function, it gets the bet account object, and then provides us the data in a dictionary. So like it will get the EVs and everything, all the settings for that account. So yeah, okay, so these, okay, probably the strip description, it I think, yeah, it formats the description into dictionary. I think one of these. Wait a minute. Yeah, yeah, okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, so okay, let's go ahead and see on the website. So yeah, okay, so if you see over here, right? So this AV single thing that we discussed earlier. So sorry, I might have misexplained something. So so for example, we have a description field for website also, right? For each website, we have a description field. In here, we can set up like single, like the limit or threshold for EV threshold for single, double, or combo. So this is what is happening over here. So website description. So this means this is related to this one, right? EV single, EV double. And then this description, it is related to each account. So let's say, so yeah, so that that description would be related to this one, right? So if somebody has like set up some kind of proxy over here, so this is what we'd see over here. The website description is for the website, and then the other description is for the account. So if you remember, like we talked, like how we can set up EV threshold for each website type, right? So it treats that data, and then it also like filters the horse, like whatever horse data we have, it filters the horses which have EVs lower than the ones specified over here. So yeah. So here we check what type of tool it is, right? If it's private tool, we use this function that reads the JSON API of the our bookie bashing tool, and then gets the data. So in case if it's bookie bashing, we read the data from the JSON. So yeah. uh, okay, so yeah, so we check what type of website it is, right? And then we also filter, maybe this will come back. Yeah, okay, so yeah, okay, so in here we can see like we are only filtering the data by EV threshold by combo. This is because on bed 365 we never do single or double birds. And also sometimes, let's say in bed 365, there are a lot of good horses. For example, there are like 30 or 40 good horses, right? In that case, while creating the combination and checking like which combination is good to bet, there's like a lot of combination which takes a lot of time to do the calculation. So to try to mitigate that, in this case, we are trying to ignore all the horses which have threshold lower than the combo. So when we do that, we end up with small amount of horses, and then like the combination also gets small, and then we can check it quickly. So for whatever website type it is, right, we check the like we only get the data for that particular website type, right? And then we send it to the automation function. So same thing happens to bet365. So since we already have a thread name, we start a thread with that name, and then simply start the script. So like for William Will, we do exactly the same thing, but we just don't filter the EV threshold combo. So same thing happens for William Will. It initiates the class, and then filters the data for William Hill, right? And then sends it over to the function, and then starts it. So same thing happens for all the websites. So, so yeah. Mhm. Also, yeah, I understand like this is not the best way to do this, right? So, but yeah, here we are kind of hard coding most of the things, but I think on Whimsy we did it better. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the automation helper. Okay, let's quickly see if we missed something for this video. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. So in the next section, we'll walk through like individual scripts, right? So in individual automation script, and then talk about them just in case like there is something extra that needs to be taught, because some of the websites have issues with bots, and then some don't. So let's yeah, we'll talk about that in next video. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can always reach out to me through my email or phone. If you don't have, please let me know. I think I'll just add it in WhatsApp while texting you if I haven't already.